Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. And I'd also like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, I am so excited to be launching our latest book, Purpose and Passion. And I have one of our authors with me today who I'm going to be talking to her about her chapter. Please join me in welcoming Alexie better.
Hi, how are we going?
Hi, Alexie. I'm really well. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Thanks so much for having me today. And yeah, to chat about the chapter and the book. It's really exciting.
Oh, thanks so much. So, Alexie, I'd love to hear a bit more about you and the work that you do for people who haven't met you before.
Yeah, sure. So, it all really started when I was a child. So I have dyslexia. I couldn't read until I was 11 years old. So school was a minefield. It was really challenging. You know, teachers are talking, I'm supposed to be learning, and I just didn't know what was going on. And it took a really amazing teacher to identify my learning challenges within the classroom. And she was able to, speak with my parents, provide support, give that guidance that, parents are looking for, in this area. And because of that one teacher, that guidance, she really modified things with me in the classroom, which was huge, because for the first time in my life, I was starting to engage in learning, engage with reading. And following on from that, my mum changed her whole career, focusing on, she was a psychologist doing a lot more counseling, but then she moved into, educational psychology, developmental educational psychology. So looking at children and diagnosing them. And she opened up this A center, I should say. And from there, she was able to, provide a lot of support for me. And as I, got older and I was working, within her clinic, providing support as well for little kids, she's like, well, what do you want to do now? You're getting to the stage where you have to plan for your future. And I was like, I want to do teaching because I felt like I was alone, for so many years, because there wasn't enough information. But I wanted to primarily work with kids with, dyslexia and learning difficulties. So I went down that avenue, and the demand has just been astronomical. There's just so many kids out there that have autism, dyslexia, learning difficulties, and they all learn very differently. And so that's why I opened my own clinic, really honing in on these kids with neurodiversity and providing them different, learning opportunities, whether it be in literacy or in mathematics. But, I personally work with the BCE students because there's not too many specialized educators that can really break down or use different tools or techniques. Some of these kids with autism, or, they really need a lot of explicit instructions, different types of learning styles to approach, learning and studying. So our centre looks at assisting kids from 5 years old right up until university, and even adults we support. But we're looking at different study skill techniques, looking at different, literacy and language tools. We also provide counselling for those going through this transition, counselling for the kids, counselling for parents, because it is a new, pathway that they're going down, and they do need support. And we also provide diagnostic assessments. So, this clinic that's come from my past and my challenges has really exploded into this, new amazing center that I'm so grateful for, because when I was lost and alone, it was that one teacher that gave guidance. And so my goal now is, when kids and parents come in, I make sure that I can provide that same level of support and, assistance to them. So it was from that one teacher, and I do make a dedication to her in my chapter, because if it wasn't for her, she was like my pivotal changing moment, as such. And then from that, my mum really supported my background and wanted to change the future because they weren't sure either. So yeah, that's how it all started, and that's just a little glimpse about my clinic and working with kids with neurodiversity.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. Your chapter was called Let the Past Empower Your Future. And that's exactly what you've done. Can you tell us a bit more about why you chose that title for your chapter?
Because it was my past and what I had gone through as a child, as an individual, within society, it really shaped who I am today. And if it wasn't for that learning journey, it wouldn't have empowered me, ignited my passion to what I do today. So that's, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, thinking about your past and the way things are today, there is a lot more understanding and acceptance and more resources available for kids with neurodiversity and learning difficulties than there were in the past. So when you were growing up, people didn't talk about or didn't know about dyslexia and those kind of things. Have you seen a lot of changes in the industry during your time?
It's really changed. And I've got to say, teachers are really completely changed from when I was at school. They really do understand so many different types of challenges in the classroom. The government's putting in a lot of different, support tools in place. And schooling has really changed over the last, 10, 20 years within the classroom. And it's amazing. It really is. But, with every new development, there are also barriers to how much they can do. But I've got to say, hats off to the teachers. They're really doing an amazing job in the classroom, with all the different types of kids and, what their needs are. So that's when, individuals such as myself and the educators that also work at our centre, we're also there to support those teachers because, there's lots of kids and lots of different needs. So, yeah, definitely the education system has really changed, which is really good. And I think the more information that's out there, it's just going to support everyone, not just the kids, but the teachers and, parents and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you talked about the fact that you provide counselling services as well. Can you tell us a bit more about this? I mean, I know that sometimes for families, when they receive a diagnosis for their child that they have autism or something like that, it can be a shock. Can you tell us a bit more about this process and how you support families through this?
Yeah, sure. So it's different depending on each family. Some parents want to understand the diagnosis a little bit more between themselves and how to manage that diagnosis within the household. So, in the counselling sessions, we provide different strategies and tools and also, how to cope with certain scenarios because, some children have more challenges than others and, what are some different support tools that they may not be aware of. And then there's different types of counselling that we offer to children and youths as well. And those children and the youths, it would be understanding or even just beginning the conversation about their learning and their diagnosis because, they may not be coping with that or understand that. So we're, breaking it down for their understanding. And for the teenagers, it's more like teenagers as well as the children boosting their self-esteem and saying this is more of a secret power. And I always say that with my autistic kids because there are some real hidden talents that my dyslexics, my autistics, my ADHD, they can use that diagnosis so well. I've got children with dyslexia that really think outside the box and they're so creative. Like it just mind blows me sometimes with how they expand their thoughts. The ADHDs can do so much multitasking. It's amazing. And then the autistic kids, they have got such, great recall and memory. Like I go, I wish I could remember every single thing that I need on my shopping list, but I can't do that. And I can't remember what I learned on this day on, 10 years ago, but you can. Every kid learns differently, and it's in the counseling we explore what are the, positive aspects and how can you use that to your advantage. So, counseling is not just, for the parents, it's not for the child. It's like, it's a whole dynamic. It's a whole support tool.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the way you talk about the superpowers that these kids have as well, and helping them to recognize and understand that that's part of it. This diagnosis isn't a terrible thing. It actually unlocks gifts that they have that are unique to them. And I think that's really beautiful.
We also talk about like famous people who have, dyslexia and, things that they've never even heard of before, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison. But, you've got people like Tom Cruise as well. And you just go, okay, he's pretty famous. He can do a lot of skills, has a lot of, talents there. Okay, what can you do next? So, and I also talk about my journey with the kids and the parents, and they go, oh, okay, there is a lot of positivity. There is a chance. And it's like, it's more than a chance. This is a direction for them. And, we just need to find what works for them. And that's what the counseling is all about. Finding what pathway, what strategy, what's the goals for their future.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us in this book, Alexie, and thank you for being here today. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you so much. You have a lovely day. And I can't wait to, talk about it more and speak to other people.
Thanks so much, Alexie. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You can grab your copy of Purpose and Passion at www.𝑐wpress.com. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.